Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise podcast. We're in the midst of the league championship series, although one of them is basically over. And to talk about that and other baseball stuff is national baseball writer David Brown. How
Hi,
are you?
Andy. I'm the podcast answer just fine.
Good. That's what we
Behind the
like.
scenes, been better, but
I don't know if you knew this. The Cubs are out of the playoffs. But what a glorious
is that
2
who
weeks.
wasn't playing against the Dodgers? I didn't realize.
Yeah. Well, by judging by the lack of offense, either team would have been just as good. So the Brewers, their offensive struggles against the Dodgers are very apparent. Although they're progressing. Game 1, 1 hit. Game 2, 2 hits. Game 3, 3 hits. So we're on to 4. Actually, I think they skipped one. I think they had 4 hits last night. Really, really ripping it up.
You can tell you're not taking any joy in it.
No, it's terrible. But that's fine. I'm sure Pat Murphy can find a way to talk about it for 3.5 hours uninterrupted. That's a guy that is really enjoying having cameras stuck in his face. He loves it.
It's true.
Anyway, he wrote handwritten notes to the players. He left them in
One
the
of them
locker
was from
room.
Bob Uecker.
Yeah, more fake, more Bob Uecker fan fiction. Dead posthumous fan fiction? Posthumous autobiographical fan fiction? It's all weird. But the Brewers, who've scored 3 runs in the 3 games, their offensive struggles it's not contained just to this. They basically stopped hitting after game 2 against the Cubs.
Right.
They have lost 5 of their last 6 games. The only win in game 5 when they eliminated the Cubs. Do you know that is the first time all season that they have lost 5 of 6 games?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So they have scored 9 runs in those 6 games. Is that good? That doesn't seem good. But here's my favorite. How many hits do you think they have with runners in scoring position in the last 5 games?
2.
You're off by 1, and you were high.
Oh, man.
They have 1.
Man, the Shabbat's.
Christian Yelich, though, will not go hitless in the NLCS because he beat out an infield grounder yesterday.
Right. He says he's fine. His back isn't. There's no problem with his back.
Yeah. Well, maybe
which might be true. Because maybe he's just not hitting.
Maybe. Well, not a lot of. He's not taxing the back all that much. No running. Just swing a few times. I'm sure I wasn't the only. Not that I wish injury on anyone, but honestly, I wish injury on Cubs opponents. Who cares?
People, sure.
Jackson Chourio, who pulled his hamstring in game 1 against the Cubs, and you thought, well, tough shit, Brewers, your best player is going to miss. He was fine, although last night he appeared to have finished the job during an at-bat. Took a big swing, and that was it. So he's most likely done.
You figured it was bound to happen. I thought, if this had been the regular season, there would have been no way they would have even attempted him to play.
Yeah.
Although I guess his reaction, it didn't look, I don't know. I didn't, it's not that I watched the entire sequence of him hurting the hamstring the first time, but it didn't look like, he wasn't grabbing it, and maybe he was just in denial. I don't know.
Well, and it was pretty easy to take him out, given that he already had 3 hits in the first 2 innings and they were up 8-1 or whatever it was at the time he hurt himself.
No need to pour it on.
But I think because he left early, and I was driving back from somewhere and I was listening to the Cub radio, and Pat Hughes and Ron Coomer declared him out for the series right there.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, he won't be back. There's no way. Oh, he wouldn't come out this early if he's okay.
That's a shame.
And the only thing they just moved into left field.
Right.
It's like, just don't run around. You'll be fine. But he was playing right field this series, or at least one. The great Isaac Collins had made appearances back in left, and Jackson had moved over. Apparently he was feeling better. Well, that ended. The big concern in that series seems to be that there is some thought that the Philadelphia Phillies left-handers broke Shohei. because he's had some pretty terrible at bats.
He did. I do remember. I think right after the series ended, people were doing the postmortem on that, and they were like, Dodgers really had a good plan. They're left-handers against Shohei, so that could be true.
And
Could
he
be.
um he took batting practice on the off day.
Yes.
And that was, oh my God, he's taking batting practice on the field. He never does that. Cub fans remember that. Cal Tucker never took batting practice on the field. And then when he struggled, that was his fix too. But then Shohei let off the game with a triple. So maybe it did work.
He hit it pretty good. I think 96. So it wasn't 115 or whatever, but it was a hard hit ball, quote unquote.
I found the Dodgers, obviously their starting pitching has been great the entire playoffs, but and especially in this series. But the way they arranged the pitchers, I thought was odd. I assumed Shohei was going to pitch game 2 only because they claim they wanted to pitch him the day before an off day.
Yeah.
To make it easier on him than when he goes to DH. He gets a day off to recover. Although maybe they just looked at this and went, oh, there'll be an off day after game 4. So he can pitch then because that's what he's going to do.
Did I hear Dave Roberts say that he would go, that would make him on track for a game 7 if it came down to that, which I thought was kind of, maybe I didn't hear that, but I was, if I did hear that, that'd be kind of weird just because that stuff never works out in the playoffs or rarely anymore.
Well, wouldn't 5 would be Snell, 6 would be Yamamoto again. I guess 7 would be Glasnow and Shohei. Maybe that's what he meant. He could go with both those guys then if he did it that way. I don't think they're gonna have to worry about game 7.
I doubt it.
Pretty clear.
That's kind of an interesting, you are struggling hitting when you can't hit the Cubs and then you can't hit the Dodgers bullpen.
Yeah.
So that was seen as, and still could be, a weakness of theirs. But, and sometimes pitchers just figure it out too. But
the worst sign for them was that they've had 2 whacks at Blake Trinan and haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And little Roki looked very, very shaky in game 1 and not so shaky last night. It was throwing 100 miles an hour at the top of the zone and then that ridiculous 86 mile an hour, whatever that thing is, the curveball or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The Brewers got an excellent 5 and 4 2/3 innings out of Jacob Misericordia.
Yeah.
He did very clearly get tired.
Yeah.
His velocity dropped quite a bit in the last inning, and then that's when the Dodgers just got to whacking. He pitched twice against the Cubs, and the first one was he was all jacked up on goofballs or whatever, and he was jumping up and down, and he ran a ball to first base, so it's hit back to him because he was too excited to throw it, and it's like, calm down. And he's throwing like 105. And when he came back and pitched against him in game 5, he was only throwing 100. And Ron Darling was convinced that it was on purpose.
Right.
Like, oh, sure, he just knows how to throttle his fastball down 5 miles an hour. It's like, no, he's not. He was overly fresh for the first, like they hadn't pitched forever when he pitched in game 1.
Right.
The Cubs, I thought, had really good at bats against him in game 5, and they didn't do squat. So I like to refer to him as the rubber-faced giraffe that pitches for the Brewers. He's no Cade Horton. Although we don't know what Cade Horton looks like in the playoffs because he was, you know how that whole saga, right? Cade got bronchitis from Seiya.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that part.
Seiya was sick, had been exiled from the team so he wouldn't get anybody else sick. Came back to fly to Pittsburgh for that series. Cade all of a sudden got bronchitis, coughed himself into a broken rib. It's Seiya's fault.
Okay. That's a good that's a Cubby occurrence right there.
It is.
I thought we were done with those.
And Seiya was the only Cub who hit in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, as far as the Brewers, I had a stray thought on that. I saw some tweets like from Eric Kratz and AJ Przinsky talking about how can they, going with the openers is a bad idea, and this team won 98 games or whatever, and they're doing this. How can this happen? And maybe they mentioned it in the videos. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting mad at a cloud or headlines or whatever. But they Brandon Woodruff got hurt,
Yep.
and Jose Quintana has been hurt, and um, they've had to use their pitchers in weird ways to get through. They had the bye, but they still had a 5-game series against the Cubs. They've had to use X, Y, and Z and innings 3, 4, and 5, and it's just that's the situation they're in. I mean, it's not so much that, it's that they are not hitting home runs or anything else. So they're not really designed that much to hit home runs, and maybe that is why they're not hitting, that they can't hit the ball over the fence. But um, usually hitting home runs in the playoffs is offensively the way you get to the end as the winner.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that was the reason I thought the Cubs would beat them, was that it's hard in the playoffs to string hits together, and you got to hit home
right,
runs. And then the Brewers scored 3 runs in Game 5, and they were all on solo home run. So that is how
right,
they beat them. Yeah, and I guess the only question is why they were afraid to ever give Quinn Priester just a regular start. And I guess the way he pitched against the Cubs maybe was why he
yeah,
lasted an inning. But the Brewers to me were always kind of the perfect, like, this team is built for the regular season. It's built for the long haul to go out and grind out wins every
right,
day, and that we use the depth of the team and all the things they can do. And then when you get to the playoffs where everybody shortens everything up, then the Brewers' advantage kind of disappears,
right,
which doesn't say much for the Cubs. The Cubs, though, I feel like when Oleg and Praz and I bitched about this from the very beginning, I feel like the Cubs blew the series with the pitching decision in Game 1. Having Matt Boyd come back on short rest didn't make any sense. Now, they didn't have a starter for Game 1, right? When they lost Game 2 to the Padres and they had to use Tyon in Game 3, it meant they wouldn't have a real starter on regular rest for Game 1 against the Brewers. And the assumption was they would just go with an opener like Colin Ray or somebody like that, get you a few
yeah,
innings. And then because of the weird off days in the NLDS, where it was play a game, take a day off, play a game, take a day off, then if they did that, they could actually get Boyd an extra day's rest for Game 2, and Shōta would have 2 extra games rest for Game 3, and Shōta would be pitching at Wrigley instead of in Milwaukee because they were worried about him throwing batting practice. And at least if you played at Wrigley, this year you have like a 60-40 chance the wind's going to blow in, which would have been good. And that is how it would have worked. It was a good night to pitch in Game 3. But instead, they sent Boyd out, who was not only on short rest, but had on an even shorter rest, had warmed up to come in Game 5 just in case, because
right,
Brad Keller was busy playing cricket, bouncing the ball and hitting guys with the ball in the 9th inning. And it just seemed like that was doomed. And it was. I mean, they jumped all over poor Matt. And then when he pitched Game 4 on full rest, he was really good. And it's like, well, I don't get it. So I kind of feel like they sabotaged themselves. Like they were unwilling to potentially sacrifice Game 1 to get their pitching in order for the other games, but they ended up sacrificing it anyway because Boyd had nothing. I mean, he gave up on like his first 5 pitches, he'd given up 3 doubles, which I don't think is good. I don't know, but I'll ask a baseball expert, but I don't think it's good.
Well, let's see if we can find one.
And then the Dodgers, it was the Rundown podcast that had talked about this. Like the Dodgers basically spent this season getting ready for the playoffs. Every decision they made was for the playoffs. And they basically, Blake Snell, I've called him Blake twice now instead of Ian. I'm getting better.
I felt the worm turning on that too.
Yeah.
I have not forgotten his name or called him any of the other Snells lately. So I think something is happening with Blake Snell.
Because there was talk that he was ready a month before they activated him. They were just like, nah, you're fine. Just rest. Keep it. We don't need you right now. We're going to need you. And when we need you, we're going to need you. And it was Andy McCullough, I think, who said this regular season went about as poorly for the Dodgers as it could, given that they had to play in the wild card round, and then they had to play the Phillies without home field advantage.
Right.
In their second round, and they had no problem with it, which basically says to them, well, we can do this every year. Like, the regular season doesn't mean crap. We just have to. Well, it's ironic. While these other teams like Jed Hoyer had a 45-minute press conference, we talked about you just got to build the team good enough to get in the playoffs. Anything can happen. The Dodgers are the opposite of that. It's like, no, we built a team to win the World Series, and then you can just use the regular season to just make sure everything's lined up, because you can overcome whatever because you're better than other teams.
You know, that's how it has worked out. And it very well could be that was the big plan overall, especially coming off a season where you have to win the World Series, play all the extra games, all that stuff. But if Sasaki, if they don't have him in the bullpen at the end, and sometimes it's not 100% that he's 100%.
No.
They're still vulnerable out there. I mean, I see what you're saying about how they prepared, but even still, if Vesia and Banda and all those guys kind of pitch how they've been pitching, the Brewers are still in this series. So, it's maybe that was the plan all along, whatever, but they're still,
I agree with you 100%.
hanging by a couple of threads anyway.
Yeah, I agree with 100%. They probably should have lost to the Phillies. If Rob Thompson decides, I'm going to bunt Nick Castellanos from second to third, maybe he's like, maybe I should run for Nick Castellanos instead. Doesn't. Nick gets the worst jump in the world and gets thrown out, and that kills that rally. And then Orion Kirkring Kirkringed himself into the ground. There's a good chance they're not even in this series. I think what Andy's point was, what this is going to reinforce to them that we can get away with this if we have to. If next year we decide we just need to stick guys in mothballs because they've got nagging injuries, and instead of trying to hope we can get through with them, we're just going to try to get them healthy. It's just going to embolden them to do it. I don't think he was guaranteeing that it would work all the time.
Right.
But basically expect more of this, because clearly in their offseason, their plan wasn't to do this. Their plan was to get so much pitching that they would be fine and that they would plow through the regular season. And yes, you got to account for Glass now going on the injured list because he always does. And you have to account for Snell going on the injured list because he always does. We'll have so much depth. And all of a sudden they're in the middle of the season going, shit, we don't have any pitchers.
Right.
And then also the one thing that clearly was purposeful was Shohei. And that was, we're going to very slowly build him up. And we're only worried about, we're saving most of his bullets for the playoffs if we need them. That was like the one part that the rest of it was them reacting to what was going on and then realizing we're going to make the playoffs. So what are we doing? Just We'll be fine.
I do wonder if Shohei has any hitting bullets available.
Well, the question he's getting asked is one he can't really answer is, are you struggling now because you're struggling hitting because you're actually pitching a full load again?
Yeah.
Maybe. And maybe it also could just be that even though he's great, he's had a bad week. Because it all gets magnified. Like, he destroyed the Reds. Hunter Green, one of the best pitchers of baseball. Shohei's like 2 home runs. And it could just be that he's struggling a little bit because that's what happens to hitters.
Not to victim blame, but he sets the bar so high that when he doesn't do something, we are surprised and we are wondering, well, where is it? Even though he's asked and he asks of himself to do more than any other player.
Yeah.
So
but there also could be the thing where he's, how old is he now?
30.
He's old. He's like 30, right? Yeah. Pitchers, that's one of my favorite things over the first bunch of years of his career was how confused other pitchers were that the day after he would pitch like 7 innings, he was DHing. And they're
Right.
like, how can he? I can't lift my arm above my shoulder, and he's
Right.
hitting 99-mile-an-hour fastballs. And it just very well could be that as he gets older, that's going to get harder to do. To recover from
Yes.
one day to the next is harder. And you might have to come up with a different kind of plan for him if you still want him to try to do both. I don't know.
I wonder sometimes, you know how you hear old timers pitchers talk about how much they threw in the old days, and they don't throw as much as they used to,
Yeah.
and we saw people make 40 starts a year. Not having to go back to Cy Young times, but let's just say Fergie Jenkins times, and 300 innings, 350 innings, and I would throw all year, and maybe there is something in that when you say you hear other pitchers talk about Shohei still being viable the day after a start, that maybe there is something about how the pitchers are preparing for the grind of a season that is doing them a disservice when it gets to this point
Yeah.
in the year. So,
Well, I mean, that's the Mike Marshall thing, right? That
yeah,
pitchers didn't throw. You didn't throw enough. Not that you were throwing too much. Like it's
right,
you use their muscles like anything else, and you don't have to you don't have to throw 98 miles an hour every day, but you probably should pick up a baseball and throw it. That was like his whole thing was
right.
you should throw something every day. The ball, your dog, something.
A tantrum.
Yeah, right. You have to throw something, and I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, there's everybody's max effort all the time now, which clearly is not how you used to pitch. Not even that long
Right.
ago, guys didn't pitch like that. Um, and that can't be good for you.
Well, it's why you have Tarek Skubal going 7 innings instead of 9.
Yeah,
You know, and sometimes 7 is pushing it for him as far as how often he does it. So, uh,
I would have liked to have.
I don't know. I would be afraid of getting hurt too, but
Let's say you were, let's say in the late '60s, early '70s, the Cardinals had the pitching analytics department that teams have now, and
yeah,
you had to be the one to go tell Bob Gibson that, well, your velocity always dips a little bit in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and we're gonna need to do something about that. And then you come back with the report shoved up your ass because Bob basically said, "I'm fucking pitching is what I'm doing.
well, we saw
I
that.
can't throw 99 miles an hour every inning. I'm not gonna. My job is to get people out."
We saw last night a glimpse of that with Max Scherzer barking the manager
Yeah.
off the mound at one point. I will. I'm not coming out now.
I
And
mean,
I think that's sort of that's what Bob Gibson would have looked like, except he had the same color eyes.
yep. It's got to be weird having Max scream at you with 2 different eyes.
Intimidating. And he's like a super nice guy, but also obviously very intimidating. So, and with the eyes, it's
The
just
Blue Jays figured it
throws me
out.
off.
He's really good on like 27 days rest.
Right.
He's like, all right, we'll see you around Thanksgiving, Max.
As
For your
man,
next
he's
start.
as many days off between starts as he is years old.
I mean, that's been a really interesting series considering I feel like those 2 teams are really evenly matched. And so if you had said, well, after it'll be 2-2 after 4,
Right.
of course. But it's gone exactly the opposite the way you would have thought, which is the road teams
Right.
have won every game so far. But we're probably have landed where we should be, series wise. It just hasn't looked right. Like the home fans have just been pissed every day because
Right.
you get all excited, you go to the game, you're going to watch your team win, and they lose. So
I think I cannot prove, but I think how pitchers are used these days and the 15-inning game that the Mariners played in the previous round is messing with them. I think
yeah,
that has something to do with why Logan Gilbert was in his previous outing and why Luis Castillo was throwing down the middle of the plate and was only good for 3 innings or whatever it was yesterday. So the consequences of how the playoffs are going
and it's
are
And it's weird because I think everybody just assumed that would rear its head. That would put him at a huge disadvantage in games 1 and 2.
Right.
But it feels like it took longer. Well, and then they had. I always get George Kirby and the other guy confused. Who started game 1? Was that
Uh,
Bryce? What's his
Yeah, he's going today too. Yes, Bryce Miller.
Miller? He was like the one guy they didn't use. So he was
Right.
going to have, and they're like, well, he hasn't pitched very well this year. He's not going to, well, he's good. He just had a bad year and he was, he was on it in game 1. And then it
Yeah.
masked the fact that they really are paying a penalty for the very long game. We didn't get any Brian Wu yesterday, did we?
No, he is active, but I saw a couple of people complaining about, well, if we're going to activate him, why not use him? So, and it's not a bad question, but it's one that could have a good answer.
He threw a simulated game in Toronto before one of the games, but he only pitched 2 innings in the simulated game. So they're assuming that means he's only going to be used in a short stint.
Right.
Which is a big blow to them. He was very good this year.
He was their best. I think he was their best starting pitcher. I'm pretty sure he was. He was better than Gilbert. So, but Miller was, at least with ERA. I'm not sure about the extra results. He was probably their. I think he had their lowest ERA last year. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and this year Miller was, he had a bad ERA, but his secondary numbers weren't as bad as he had some bad luck in that regard. That doesn't mean he's going to dominate the next game, but
in 24 he was 7.8 with a 2.94 ERA, and this year he was 4-5 with a 5.68 ERA. He also only made 18 starts, which shows there's something. He was battling something. So
he's had a couple of stints. I think it's.
It didn't completely come out of nowhere that he was all of a sudden good in a playoff game, considering he's talented. The problem is, I don't know. You can count on it again. That would be the issue. It's given the year he had, not likely to see that again.
One thing I've seen, it's not a pitcher, but it's Cal Raleigh. One of those stat services has been tracking his unblocked balls, which sounds. I mean, we could make all kinds of jokes, but he's got a whole bunch of unblocked balls in the playoffs and had like one all season. So,
and he go like some ridiculous amount of pitches between pass balls, like 12,000 or something. So
this is obviously, or pretty obviously, a thing where fatigue is entering in.
He caught all. I mean, you're not going to take him out and put Mitch Garver in a 15-inning elimination game. But when your catcher has to catch it all, he's going to pay some price too. So
yes,
maybe that just proves his value. Maybe that's why
he should be the most valuable
player.
I didn't want to sound like whatever for the MVP, but I think as we talked before, we take completely for granted how much any catcher, this is not just Cal Raleigh, physically and mentally and emotionally and mathematically has to put into preparing for every game and playing every game. We take it completely for granted. So it makes his 60 home runs even more remarkable.
Yeah.
And I think kind of obviously more valuable. So even though that doesn't show up on all the stats.
Do you vote for American League MVP?
I vote, Ted, for American League Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
I've never voted. I think I voted for a Cy Young once and Manager of the Year twice. And this year I've got AL Rookie of the Year. So, but now MVP.
So would you have voted, had you had one, for the Big Dumper or Aaron Judge for most valuable?
I would have voted for Dumper.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, I don't even know if it's like clearly that I would have, because you only got to rank them 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 for MVP. But, obviously Judge is the best offensive player of his time and was this season. And Raleigh actually had a better defensive year last year. He wasn't a finalist for the Gold Glove this year, and based on the stats, shouldn't have been. So I think it's clear that he's, even with the pass ball thing, maybe he's led up a little bit in some ways defensively, or maybe it's just happened. Maybe it wasn't a conscious decision. But I still think that when you add up all the stuff that any catcher does, it does not reflect in the statistics. It just doesn't reflect in all of them. They make offensive adjustments for WAR, but that isn't even what I'm talking about. It's just the preparation for the game and calling the pitches. Not all catchers, and that's becoming more of a thing that's going to be happening from the bench anyway. But just calling the pitchers and pitches and keeping the pitchers on track and kind of knowing what to throw next in a tight situation, keeping all that stuff off the pitcher's plate and on your plate as a catcher is very valuable. And I don't see in any of the statistics that we have, catcher's ERA and all that crap, it's not accounted for. So to me, even though Judge is clearly the better hitter, Raleigh's hitting plus all the stuff that catchers do make it so he should get the MVP. I mean, it's not by maybe a lot, but it's by something. So
on nothing like talking about other people's podcasts, but on Jason Stark and Doug Glanville's podcast, they had Rick Riz and Dave Sims on towards the end of the season, maybe right at the end of the season. Former Mariner radio partners. Now Sims went to the Yankees. So they had basically Sims making the case for Aaron Judge and Riz making the case for the dumper. And Riz, well-meaning, I thought gave a terrible case for the dumper. He was getting into all this stuff about his leadership and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you have the easy argument here. This is a catcher who hits 60 fucking home runs in a season.
Right.
How can you be more valuable than that? Some teams are lucky to get like 8 homers and 60 RBIs out of all their catchers, and they're happy if those catchers are half as good defensively as Cal Raleigh. You take that and you get 60 homers out of it. You can't have a more valuable player than that, no matter how great Aaron Judge was. And he was great again. He had another great year. And it was just frustrating. It's like, no, you're making a terrible case for this. You have the easy job and you're botching it.
Once you go for the super vague stuff, he's actually from Chicago, I think.
Yeah, he is. One of the suburbs, I think.
Yeah, you don't have to get super vague. I mean, there is, or super bad. There's go ahead.
I was going to say, that was my argument with it, was the ancillary arguments he was making were fine, but you didn't need them. You were weakening your case because you had the easy, solvable case, which is, hey, Dave, tell me why having a really, really, really good offensive right fielder is more valuable than having a really, really, really good offensive catcher. Just compare Judge to the next best right fielder. That's probably what, right? Juan Soto. He's better, but not by nearly as much as Cal is to the next catcher. It just seemed like an easy argument, and I was just like, "Oh, come on! Just you're making me mad, and I'm agreeing with you, and you're making me mad."
You don't have to get cute with it. There is a little bit of, like I said, it doesn't always show up in the stats that we look at on individuals. But if you just think about how the game of baseball is played and all this stuff that catchers have to do to prepare a team and to help a team win, that's where I think it's easier to see the argument on Raleigh's side.
Yeah.
So,
like, even from a Cub perspective, Carson Kelly had a really nice season as the Cubs catcher. He had one really good month, and then he was Carson Kelly the rest of the time.
Right.
To that month, to the point where I went back and looked, he drove in 12% of his season runs in 2 games against the A's. It's like, oh, that doesn't seem like
was that in Sacramento?
In Sacramento, he drove in.
That makes it even weirder.
He drove in 5 runs when he hit for the cycle there.
Right.
That was like his big. Oh well. Speaking of the Cubs, they have a interesting decision to make, and I'm going to give you the 3 options, and you can advise Jed Hoyer as to what he should do.
All right, I'll listen.
So Shōta Imanaga has a very weird contract, a very overly complicated contract. And now is the time when Shōta and the Cubs both have to make important decisions. So he has a team option for 3 years, $57 million. If the Cubs decline the option, then Shōta has a 1-year, $15 million player option. So the interesting thing to know about the and if Shōta picks up the option, say he says the Cubs are like, we don't want to give you 3 years, and Shota's like, I like it here. I'll play for one more at 15. Then next year, the Cubs have a 2-year, $42 million team option on him, and he has another 1-year, $15 million option. Now, the important thing to know is if the Cubs pick up his team option either time, his contract he gets a full no trade clause for the remainder of the contract. So the 3 options for Jed and Shōta, I guess he has one of the options, is you figure, all right, $57 million over 3 years for what? A number 3 starter, maybe a 4, given how many home runs he gave up this year. Cost certainty for a guy, that might be valuable. Or say, no, we can do better than that. We don't want to do that. You pick up your own option if you want, or you can go. Or you don't pick up the option, he doesn't pick up his, and you put a $22 million qualifying offer on him, which attaches a draft pick to him, which means, I think, to me, it kills his free agency. And he's probably coming back for $22 million, and you're no longer on the hook for anything beyond that if you decide not
What
to.
does the qualifying offer stuff do to being traded? It does something, doesn't it? Does it, is there a no trade clause?
I don't think so.
What am I thinking of?
And you can't put the option on him a second time.
Yeah.
Or you can't do a qualifying offer a second time. I don't know. It's fully guaranteed, right?
Right.
So that's like the advantage. So if you were the Cubs, door number 1, say, all right, fine. We want you that's less shopping for us. We want you 3 years, $57 million. Option 2, tell him no, and then see if he picks up his option. And then if he turns it down, you either let him go or you put the qualifying offer on him.
Before I answer that, my Google question: a situation in professional sports, sorry, it's written by AI, where a player who accepts a qualifying offer receives an implied no trade clause and can become an unrestricted free agent the following year. So the no trade clause is for 2026 once he accepts a qualifying offer. Does that make sense?
What's an implied trade clause?
That's true.
It's kind of like, hey, we're probably won't trade you.
Okay. Oh, maybe. It's because of the draft pick compensation. So if a player accepts a qualifying offer, they are essentially, it's a funny word, legally on a 1-year contract. The situation gives them an implied no trade clause because they would lose the associated bird rights, as in Larry Bird in the NBA, or draft pick compensation in MLB that comes with being a restricted free agent on a long-term deal. It makes me more confused.
So
would give him.
So can you trade him or not? You could.
You could, but it wouldn't.
If you trade him, you no longer get the pick.
Right.
So you just have to trade him for something you think is more valuable than the draft pick.
Right. You wouldn't get the pick. That would be, yes.
Well, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because you get the pick
once he's gone. Right.
You only get the pick if somebody else signs him.
Yeah.
You only get that
pick. And wouldn't it be the last team that had him? Wouldn't they get that pick?
You offer Shōta the qualifying offer. He turns it down. Somebody signs him. He's theirs. But then they lose a pick, right? And you get it? Because the comp picks don't work. They're not straight, right? Like all of a sudden you are entitled to a comp pick. And then that gets us, then depending on the year Shōta has, that determines like which round, between which 2 rounds the pick goes, all that crap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you know more about this than me. I never.
Do I?
It doesn't mean I know it. I never. It never dawned on me that if you do that, then you have the player for the full year. It's fine. I mean, I honestly, I think that probably should be what it is. That's kind of the reward the player gets for the penalty of the qualifying offer, really screwing up the free agency is, well, at least I don't have to worry about getting traded this year. And I can control, I'll just be a free agent next year and I'll pick my team.
Right.
But the word implied is strange to me. It screams of handshake deal, which any handshake deal with a baseball owner is bullshit. You're going to get screwed.
Yeah, so his stats, 2.65 ERA in the first half, 4.70 in the second half, mostly because of home runs.
Yep.
20 in 76 innings, which is crazy. Was that just bad luck at how the wind was blowing at Wrigley, or going up home runs all over the place?
Okay, so this became a big thing in Jed's press conference too, where he was talking about how the last 2 years it's been so hard to hit at Wrigley because of the wind. It's really depressed their offense. It's only kind of true. The park factor 2 years ago was bad. It was 87. That is a park that is suppressing offense. Last year was 98. It was basically league average. And Shōta he had incredible home stats in 2024 when he was 15-3 with the 291. And he did not have such incredible home stats in 25, which I think is why a lot of people assume the Cubs are like, we worried he wasn't a great fit for this park, and maybe he's not. The other thing that would have me concerned about if I were Shōta is that he was supposed to start Game 5 of the NLDS. He didn't start it. They sent him to the bullpen, and they never used him. He warmed up once, and that was it. They were like, Craig was afraid to bring him in, which is not great. Considering he was going to be their extra lefty because they started Drew Pomeranz, so they didn't have the normal late inning lefty because they'd already used him. They had Thielbar, but they didn't have Drew, and then they still didn't bother to go to Shōta.
Can you remind me when the full no trade clause picks up? Is that if he picks up the player option?
Only if the team does.
Well, I mean, how close are they going to be to the penalties?
Oh, they're not anywhere near them.
Just
they're $100 million. They finished $25 million below the luxury tax this year with Kyle Tucker.
Well, I know that he didn't. He had a bad second half. Blah blah blah, like we talked about. But last year he didn't. He was better in the second half, so I don't think this is a stamina issue.
No, he had an injury this year. He had a hamstring. Yeah. He had 2 leg injuries this year. That's what he hasn't had any arm problems at all.
It's $19 million or whatever a year. Just pick up the team option and stop putzing around. I mean, I do. My second thing would be just give him a qualifying offer. Yeah. But I think in order, I would just pick up the option because it's not that much money.
No.
Because a qualifying offer's, what do you say, $22 million?
Yeah.
I mean,
at least
you're still getting them at a bargain a little bit.
Because it hadn't even been calculated yet, right? It'll go up. It should go up.
No, I think it was 21 last.
Okay, so they're just assuming that basically it does tick up about $1 million a year. It's based on total payroll, right?
Yeah,
across the league.
I think, based on everything you've told me, and just pick up his option, the team option, 357. Do it.
I agree with you. I would do that because Matt Boyd is in the last year of his contract. Jamison Taillon is in the last year of his contract. Justin Steele comes back next year, but after his second Tommy John surgery.
One of those 3 guys, I mean, it's not like one of those 3 guys have in common.
They're all
lots
lefties.
of health issues.
Well, no, I guess Taillon's not right. And the one thing, I was thinking about this, if the Cubs, they tried to trade for Mackenzie Gore at the deadline, and they're apparently still very interested. So if they get him, I can see Cub fans being very concerned that their rotation would have 4 lefties in it.
Right.
It's like, yeah, for like 2 years, for 1 year, it's gonna, and then Boyd's gonna be gone. I'd be very worried about what they're gonna get out of Steele, just because 2 Tommy Johns.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what you're gonna get. You have the same issue going forward with Cade Horton and with Matt Boyd that you had at the end of the year, which is both had greatly increased their workloads over the year before.
Right.
And Cade is really good, but it's not unusual for a pitcher in his second full year to miss some starts, even if he doesn't have a serious injury. Little nagging stuff seems to come up from they're coming off their first year of full major league workload.
Right.
I just don't think you can get cute with it and go, well, we can just let him go because and you're going to need pitching. And then if you're worried about it long term, Tyon's gone, Boyd's gone, you're still going to need pitching. What I think they're going to do is I think they're going to pick up the qualifying offer instead. I think they just don't seem to ever want to have commitments to anybody. If the fewest possible ones they can, that's what they want.
It's just not long enough of a commitment. It's just not enough money. All those other things you just said about the other pitchers who are available. Like it would be, to me, if he had been a little better in the second half, he hadn't had those leg injuries, it would be, I'd have done it already. So, it's just not enough money it's not $100 million.
Yeah.
It's not 5 years.
No. It's still a deal. You negotiated a really smart contract. Take advantage of it.
They've done this before. What's the last time they did this? Where they still putzed around? I don't remember the example I'm thinking of, but they had another contract.
Well, I mean the one, so like when Cody Bellinger didn't get, nobody made him any offers, and he signed the deal that had an option after the first year, and they just assumed he wasn't going to pick up his option. Right. And he picked up his option. So they traded him for nothing to the Yankees. Cody Poteet, who they cut in spring training. That's who they traded Cody Bellinger for. Bellinger went on to have a much better year than their left fielder did. Yeah. Who they paid basically the same amount of money. So good job. Right. The one option I think that has no chance is Shōta is not picking up his 1 year, $15 million player option. I mean, why would he? He can easily go top that on the market. Why would he settle for that? Unless he just really likes going to that one Dunkin' Donuts on his way to the park every day and he doesn't want to change.
I mean, unless I could be misreading the one thing that we haven't mentioned is what's the free agent market going to be like with the expectation of
it could be crap.
Work stoppage.
Yep.
So that sort of throws things into chaos. But all other things being equal, there's no way that 5 teams, 6 teams aren't going to be interested in giving him $3 and $60, something like that.
Yeah, so, he's a bargain. He has
what he's worth plus more value.
He has a great track record in Japan, and he has a really good track record, most importantly, in pitching here in the major. Yeah. Like this is not some like blind, like, I don't know, maybe this won't translate. Especially if you had like the Tigers should like jump all over him. Pitching in that in Comerica. He'd be perfect for there because he could give up nice long fly balls and they would be outs. So
and they love to have ex-Cubs. So
they do. Well, Scott Harris is. I remember that guy, even though I wasn't there when he was there. I love Marquee. I watch all the games. So speaking of that, my other free agent question is not who's going to get more money, because I know who's going to get more money, but who's going to be in more demand in the offseason? Which of these Kyles? Kyle Tucker or Kyle Schwarber? Tucker is going to be 29 next year. Schwarber is going to be 33.
And you can give Kyle Tucker a glove.
Yes. You can give Kyle Schwarber one too. He just won't know what to do with it.
Can I have the ones that's nitrate free?
Is he chewing on that? That's not no, Kyle, that's not a steak. It's a glove. What?
Well, I mean, even though Tucker has an opportunity to be more valuable because of his age and all that other stuff, I'm not sure what's lingering as far as injuries with him and if that's an important thing. And I think for all that Schwarber lacks in WAR because of his defense or not playing a position, I think if you look around, I would say maybe 25 teams could easily put him in the lineup and be better. So maybe more than that. I don't know. Whether it's DH or whatever, if you have to put him at first base or left field. It's a guy that can help virtually every team.
Yeah.
So I think still Tucker will, because of his ability to play the outfield and potential for, he could be. I would say it's going to be easier for Tucker to win an MVP in the next 5 years than it is Schwarber.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I think Tucker will get more money.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. I think it's a no-brainer. Tucker will get a bigger contract. Yeah. I think Schwarber will be, assuming he doesn't just re-sign with the Phillies, he will be sorting through more offers, I think.
Yeah. Tucker will get maybe 3 or 4 teams, and Schwarber will get 23.
Yeah. Tucker was on his way at the All-Star break. He was having a great year. Like, he was having the kind of the perfect kind of like, oh, I'm going to be a free agent next year. And the second half could not have gone worse for him because he got hurt twice. Neither is an injury. Well, actually, that's not true. The one broke his hand, broke a finger sliding into second base. There's really nothing you can do about that. The other one's a mysterious calf injury that just kind of came out of nowhere and nobody knew why. But this comes a year after he fouled a ball off his leg and missed a huge chunk of the second half. So now he's going into free agency on like 2 half seasons. I don't know that you can look at him and think he's injury prone, but he has been hurt the last 2 years, and guys they don't get healthier as they get older. They go the other way. Jed had he had an interesting phrase he kept repeating over and over again, which was, when he asked about Kyle's future with the Cubs, was, when he was at his best, we were at our best, which is true. Like, that offense worked really, really well when he was hitting, and when he didn't, it didn't. But I felt like that was just Jed's cutesy way of avoiding saying, yes, absolutely, we want him back. He was kind of like inferring it without having to say it, so that when it doesn't happen, he can be like, I didn't say we were going to bring him back. Mm-hmm. And the Cubs really, unless they looked at it and said, oh, this guy, this is the beginning of the end of him, which there's really no sign of that. They have no good reason not to make a huge offer to him, considering after next year, the only guy on a guaranteed multi-year contract is Dansby Swanson. This is their total payroll commitment for 2027. $46 million.
Wow.
So they could give Kyle Tucker the $40 million he's clearly going to be asking for every year for as long as they wanted. And they can easily fit that into their salary thing without having to sacrifice anything. There is no team in baseball better set up to accommodate a huge contract than the Cubs. And we know they have zero interest in actually doing that.
Would you expect them to submit what appears to be a really high offer that also could easily be topped by a couple different teams, just to make it look like they're in it, and then at the end they're not going to?
Well, my guess is they'll do the Alex Bregman thing.
Yeah.
Where they're like, well, we offered, we had more guaranteed money and more money per year. It's like, yeah, well, your offer sucked. And you knew it. Jed was like embarrassed to have to answer questions after he signed with the Red Sox, because they looked at the offers and like, no, your offer was bad. Like, it required Bregman to like jump through 11 million hoops, where all he really wanted was what he got. He wanted to get big money for 1 year with a safeguard in case he had an injury riddled season, which he kind of did. And he still opted out. Like, and there's people now like, well, you're going to go get him this year. No, last year was the year to get him. All the concerns, he's older. He was a perfect fit for Fenway, and he put up good numbers there, and he didn't put up particularly great numbers other places. That your window for him was last year. You wouldn't have had to play Matt Shaw right away at third base, and though he ended up hitting relatively well in the second half, and he played great defense, that roller coaster cost you wins over the course of the season. And you ended up 5 games behind the Brewers, and if you hadn't had to go on the road to play the Brewers, you probably would have won that series. So it ended up costing you. That was the year to do it. But yeah, I think what they're going to do is they're going to make an offer to Tucker that they feel looks impressive, but they know from talking to Casey Close is going to get a no. It would be great if they overestimate what the other offers are going to be, and they make this offer like, oh, this is going to look good, but he's not going to take it. And he's like, okay, I'll take it. What? No, wait. Here, give us that back. We need to make some adjustments.
Is there any reason to think that they would be interested in Schwarber?
Um, they should be, because that would allow them to, if their plan really is, we're going to move, Seiya's going to go back to right field. That opens up DH. So you could easily have Schwarber there. And then a year from now, when Ian Happ is mercifully gone, if the deal is Seiya's going to move over to left, and then we'll give right field to the great Owen Casey full time, that still fits. The one issue they would have is, and this Schwarber's too good to have this hold it up, is that of their young players, the only one who can really hit is Moises Ballesteros, who has no position to play. Like,
Right.
my assumption is, even though they're going to want Owen Casey to get a lot of at bats next year, what's going to happen at some point during the season is Seiya's back in right field and Ballesteros is their DH. And unless he somehow becomes a far better catcher than he's been, he doesn't really have a position, but he can hit, and they don't have enough of that. So they're set up fine for Schwarber. Like, they could plug him in and do all the other stuff they really want to do, and then they'd have either Ballesteros to either make him, improve his catching, or they deal him, because there would be a market for him because he can hit. John Greenberg asked Jed specifically about Schwarber in the press conference, and the way John asked it was, he said, so you had 5 home playoff games, and I know that the ticket revenue doesn't really kick in until the LCS, just the way it's distributed, but all the other revenue, all the beer, everything else goes right to you guys. Does that give you the additional money you need to sign Kyle Schwarber? And Jed just kind of grinned and went, no. And I messaged John, because I wrote it in the thing. I said, he gave you that look like he smiled, laughed, but he was pissed you asked it. And John was like, I don't think he is, because I think he would like the message to get to Ricketts that, that might not be a bad idea. Give me a little extra money and we can bring this guy back. And he would really transform this whole offense to have him in the middle of it. So,
right.
I mean, if he doesn't go back to Philly, because I would think that's got to be Kyle's first preference, right? I mean, that's a really good team. He fits. They love him. The city loves him. I don't think it would be very hard at all to convince him to come back to the Cubs. I think they would be probably the second team on his list. He loved it there. And Jed fucked it up when he let him go. And this would be a chance to try to redeem that. Like, he left for nothing. They DFA'd him. And it was a completely financial decision, and it was a dumb one. And they've been paying for it ever since. So it would be nice to bring him back for the last. And because he's a DH, you don't worry that he's 32. Well, who cares?
Right.
And I don't know how long a deal Kyle can get. 5 years, maybe?
Maybe.
4? I mean, it's going to be half the length of what Tucker gets, at least.
Probably something like that, yes.
And then that would even, considering that if you sign Kyle Tucker, you probably sign him with the idea that the last few years of the deal, he's the DH. Well, you don't have to worry about that with Schwarber. He's already your DH. But the idea that, he might lose a step, who cares? He's not running around. You could throw him in left on the odd day like the Phillies did. I think mostly just to remind fans that there's a reason that we don't play him out here all the time.
Yeah, so quit your bellyache.
Yeah. Oh, I just play Schwarber more. And all right, send him out. We'll let him chase a fly ball. We'll remind him why he doesn't play out there.
I saw somebody propose that Bryce Harper should go to DH now, and then Schwarber should go to first.
Would that be better? Like, Bryce isn't
I don't know.
Is Bryce a bad first
Harper.
baseman?
No, it's
I
just
think so.
It's less to get hurt.
Oh, they were saying to kind of save him?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, Schwarber really only played first base for the Red Sox, right?
Yeah.
When that's one half of the season he played there, where they kind of had to put him there, and he's just made cameos. That's an awful short first baseman.
What? Jeff Bagwell was too.
Yeah, but Jeff was a little more athletic than Kyle Schwarber.
I suppose.
I mean, Kyle's a
Only
linebacker.
one error in 75 innings. Yep.
Yeah. Because that's always that's the solution too for like, well, Ballesteros had to play first. Well, number one, that's one of the positions you actually have a good player at already, Michael Bush, young,
Yeah.
controllable player. Number two, I don't want a fat 5'8" first baseman. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of plays that don't get made with that. So
What would you think if Kirk was your catcher
he's
for the
good.
Blue Jays?
I would
He
be,
is.
I'd be perfectly happy with that, and I would be
But I mean,
perfectly happy with
that's an adjective for him though. 5'8" and fat.
yeah. But that's catcher. You're already he can stand up, and it looks like he's squatting. It's perfect. Same with Ballesteros. You just got to get better at actually being a catcher. All right. Well, we've already, this has gone for an hour. So I think we'll save for the next time. We'll go through the open managerial jobs and we'll try to determine which ones are good and which ones are bad. But
All
I
right, I'll
guess we could do
study.
one speed thing because it looks like two of these jobs, at least, probably just two, are going to be filled relatively soon. I would guess during the gap between the LCS and the World Series.
Hmm.
It looks
Right.
like Nick Hundley is probably going to get the Giants job
Right.
because he was Buster's backup for a year and he really impressed him,
Sure.
apparently.
Well, I mean, they had time to talk about things.
And then even though they seem to be going through the ruse of wanting to talk to other people, it certainly looks like Albert Pujols is going to manage the Angels.
Is it a ruse or is it a, something to do with salary? And he's already got that personal services contract deal with the Angels and is already trying to get out of not paying him more. That's the first thing I thought of when the Orioles are interested in him. Oh, the blankety blanks bidding war, Artie? Maybe not.
Because it's funny because Artie is the reason that Pujols was like, he loves Albert. And they thought, and that was like the fait accompli then, that he would give him the job. Yeah. The personal services contract pays him $1 million a year. So he's not going to manage the team for the personal services contract.
I'm pretending to be Artie. Oh, I didn't realize.
So you're going to have to pay him real money.
I actually think if I were running a team, I would think that there's a chance that Albert would be a really good manager. Yeah. And, sometimes we sort of get out of that headspace for superstar players and Hall of Famers that why would they want to go through the trouble? But if they do want to go through the trouble, he's the kind of personality. He's a curmudgeon. Can be kind of a
he's in his 70s, right?
No.
I mean, he played. He was a 36-year-old rookie in 2001. So he's got some age on him. Maybe not his 70s. Late 50s, early 60s.
I think he's pretty. I don't know where he is on analytics and all that, but personality-wise, he reminds me of somebody who would have been a manager in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, and I would take a chance on him as a guy that maybe could get it done. So, I think these other teams should be interested.
Well, and his hiring would cause there would be an opening then. The team Dominican Republic needs a World Baseball Classic manager then if he takes this job.
Yeah.
Unless maybe that's the holdup. He still wants to do it. And he's like, I'll just do both. Like, well, no, you can. If we hire you, you have to be our manager during spring training. No, I'm going to manage the Dominican team too. I'll just do them both. Like, no, you can't do that.
That's all right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Yep.
I mean, it's the guy who I begrudgingly think is probably going to be a very good manager when he finally gets around to managing the Cardinals is, I think Yachty probably will be good at it.
Yeah.
Although I think maybe his dream might really be to be a basketball coach.
Yeah, it is. He wants to run the Lakers.
If they ever bring the Spirits of St. Louis back, Yachty will take that job instead and wear full basketball uniform on the bench like he does for
if we could get him in the Marvin Barnes time machine.
Yep.
We could maybe do that and bring that team back forward in time and then have him manage it. I think Yachty, as far as like how all the baseball stuff works, would be perfect. I'm not. I don't know. I'm ignorant of how the personality would work.
Yeah,
I see. It's a little more obvious to me that Pujols' personality would work than Yachty's, but I think that's because Yachty didn't really ever show a
yeah.
personality. So other than the tenaciousness or whatever of being a catcher. So, but as far as the technical stuff of running a pitching staff or letting a pitching coach run a pitching staff and understanding what's going on and the day to day, what's it like to be a ball player, all that stuff, Yachty would be very good. So, but you also have to consider the personalities, and I don't know. I just don't know. It's just something that he never showed it. So
The Nick Hundley thing is surprising because if I was going to hire a Hundley to manage a team, I would get Todd. That would be something. Get his older brother Todd. Like what? No, that's not. He's not one of those Hundleys. Oh,
he's funny. He's a very funny person, Nick Hundley. So
well, it's funny because
that's really all I know.
the people who've talked about it said yes, he absolutely. As a player, he always seemed like a guy who probably would be a manager someday. It's just he has done so little to like prepare to be a manager. Like he's working for baseball, right? Like and it's just
I don't
kind of
even.
I think people feel like
You're telling me something I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What has he been doing?
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
he's
know.
like I think he works for Manfred right now.
Huh. Well, and Torrey Hunter wants to be manager of the Twins or the Angels. I mean,
Oh
he's
no,
been
he did something, but now he's special assistant to Chris Young with the Rangers. He's basically
hmm,
he was a part-time scout this year, is what he was doing.
okay. Well, I mean, that's something.
Um, but I think it's just people are kind of like, okay, Buster, like when you get your first chance to hire, because he kept Bob Melvin when he took over, which made sense. Like Bob's a good
Yeah.
manager, but your first one you're gonna hire a guy who's never managed anything anywhere.
Right.
It just seems like it's like you're one manager too early to hire him. But
It's. I mean, it's not impossible that it wouldn't work,
no,
but
it's not.
it's really risky.
Yeah.
And they need to. They seem to be in a situation where next year they need to be in the playoffs. I think that's one reason why they got rid of Bob.
Yeah.
So because if they had won, I don't remember the exact number, the Giants, but they finished something like 7-16 down the stretch against teams that they were competing against in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if they've just been a little closer to 500, they would have made the playoffs with room to spare. So
They had a couple of stretches after they got Devers where you thought they're really good. Like
mhm,
this that really made the team go because Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, and then Verlander pitched really well in the second half.
they
But
did.
they struggled right before they got swept by the Pirates, and they had another right before the deadline. And Buster traded like Camilo Doval and Tyler Rogers, and then they had some bullpen problems then because then after the deadline they got hot and they basically got right back in it again. And then
Right.
all of a sudden it's like, oh, we probably could have used those two guys we traded. They did get they got my buddy though. It's Jose Butto, right? He came
Yes.
over.
Jose
He came over in
Butte.
the Mets and he pitched relatively well. So that kind of defrayed the loss of one of those two relievers, but that it didn't help. And then there were like when they fired Gabe Kapler, like Gabe had lost. Like the team was tired of Gabe. That was
Yeah.
that was not the case with Bob. Like Bob was, I think, got fired, but and Buster picked up his option
In June or
to like
something.
send a message that this is our guy and we're going to still going
Right.
to try to win this season. And so then he fired him, and Bob's like, well, I get paid for next year, so thanks.
Yeah.
It's just odd. The last thing is, I'm really worried. Is David Ross going to get a job?
Maybe.
He wants the Braves job pretty bad. I just feel like the
Yeah.
Braves are too smart to hire him, but I could be wrong, I guess.
Maybe. But David Ross, there's something about him. I still think that I don't know. He can say that it was maybe front office dysfunction that was more why things didn't really work out with the Cubs. They made some bad
Yeah.
post World Series decisions.
My real problem with Ross was I didn't understand the rush. Kind of like the Nick Hundley thing. I didn't understand the rush that, and Theo was still there to, like, they seemed to think that some team was going to snap this guy up and he was going to become a genius manager. And I at the time thought, let somebody else snap him up. Let him manage somewhere
Right.
else first and get fired and then get him. Because he does seem like a guy who should be a good manager. And so maybe
Right.
after he's gone through it all once and he gets the second try, and he's like, okay, I'm going to change this. I'm not going to do this. The biggest issue I had with him with the Cubs was he just completely blew out his bullpen. They only really contended once in 23, and he just kept pitching the same three guys over and over and over again. And they
Yeah.
started blowing saves, and then they all got hurt. That was Adbert Alzolay and Michael Fulmer, and who's the third guy? None of them were around the next year because their
Yeah.
arms fell off, and he would just do some dumb, like, he also handled when they brought Pete Crow Armstrong up late in his 1 year. He used Pete in like the worst ways you possibly could.
Hmm.
It's just like, he's only there to like pinch run and come in late for defense and get an occasional at bat. And he just kept throwing him up there overmatched against certain pitchers. And it's like, what are you doing? So I don't know. I mean, he's linked to lots of these teams, like the Braves and the Orioles. I don't know. And then, well, I guess I lied. There's one more thing. So, the Mike Schilt
Yes.
has retired. 57 years old, and he has retired.
57. Seems 67.
Here's the crazy thing about Mike Schilt. When you put a hat on him, he looks 20 years older than he is. When he was first with the Cardinals, I didn't know he had hair until it was when he went to get married. Remember, he got married on the All-Star break, and they showed pictures. I'm like, he has hair? He looks
Right.
20 years younger with his hat off than he does with his hat on.
He does look like he has no hair when he has hat on.
Yes, he looks bald until he takes his hat off.
Right.
He's cited the stresses of the job and the physical toll he took and death threats. Are there Padre fans that are that fired up that they're
gamblers? They're just gamblers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call them Padre fans.
Yeah.
Sounds like it was the gamblers. But maybe not. They get, you know what? The Padres, they get into a snit, not snitker, over the Dodgers. So that's their universe, and they get pretty upset about things. So maybe that's it too.
I mean, if I were a Padre fan, the only time I would have threatened him was why Yu Darvish started Game 3 when then Michael King came in for 1 inning and looked like the best pitcher on the team, and then only pitched 1 inning. As a Cub fan, I can tell you when Michael King was gone after 1 inning, I'm like, oh, thank God. Like everything was moving. It's like, oh, how come this guy hasn't pitched yet? And I know he'd battled injuries and stuff, but I mean, and I love Yu Darvish. He's one of my all-time. It's funny. There's so many Cub fans who love Yu Darvish. He only pitched for the Cubs for 1 full season and the COVID year.
Really?
But he's great. Love you. He's just like the best dude. And
isn't he 40?
And he's signed for 3 more years.
Oh my God.
He signed till he's 39 this year. He signed till he's 42. Oh well. That's a good agenting is what that is.
I'll say this with Schilt, with the Padres. There's something, I don't know what it is about the Padres, but there's some kind of stressor about managing them that makes them kind of weird.
Yep.
And sometimes it seems like they're underachieving. Sometimes it's, you've counted them out and they get really hot. There's something, I don't know if it's the players, the personalities. Is it Machado's personality and Tatis? And is it AJ Preller? Is it weird because the owners, the good owner, Peter, had died, and now that situation is not? There's some things going on with that team that, beyond the stuff that Schilt talked about, that always strikes me as there's kind of a tightrope being walked by the manager trying to make everybody happy. So,
yeah, well, and they went all in to try to win while that guy was still alive.
Yeah,
and then made some really good moves, actually. Like, Preller did a nice job, and they probably should have won the World Series last year.
They were really
I mean,
close.
it's if they close out the Dodgers, they win it. They were easily the best team. They would have handled the Mets. They would have beat the Yankees. They would have won the World Series, but they didn't. And then they're trying to. AJ's trying to do the same kind of aggressive stuff without the money to back it up. And yeah, I do think it just kind of feels like they're always in a we got to win right now mode, which as a fan I would like. Much better than the mode that the Cubs operate in, which is maybe we'll get lucky and we'll win something. But I do think that has to wear everybody out, I would think. Because I do think Schultz a pretty good manager. He did a nice job with the Cardinals. He got fired there because he basically told the front office that he was going to make decisions, not them, in-game decisions. And they said, oh, no, you're not. And he got canned. But he had weird incidents. He was accused of they had some weird racial thing with the Padres when he was the third base coach. And I don't remember exactly what it was. So they said he used an epithet in an argument and then he claimed he didn't. And he ended up getting the full-time job anyway. And
like you so-and-so Latino kind of thing?
I don't know. Somebody accused him. And then I guess they could, on the field mic, they could pick up that he didn't say what he was accused of. So it was like weird that he got accused of it in the first place when he didn't do it. It was just some odd thing that happened. I don't remember. I remember thinking, well, he's not getting that job, and they hired him. And then there was the rumor this year that John Heyman had to be true, that one of his coaches tried to beat him up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun. I hope they hire Ryan Flaherty, is who I hope, because I want that weird skinny guy out of the Cub dugout. He creeps me out. He wears this like T-shirt every day. It's a hooded, short sleeve T-shirt with Cubs on it. I don't like it.
It's very Belichicky.
Yeah, and I don't like the fact that
the Orioles, Ryan Flaherty. That Ryan Flaherty.
Yeah, and those are the two jobs he's linked to because he was a coach with the Padres. So he's Padres and Orioles apparently were interested in Flash. The reason I never liked his fit with the Cubs is that he's Craig Counsell's bench coach because Pat Murphy got hired by the Brewers. Craig was bringing him, and then Murphy got the job, so he didn't come. And he had no relationship with Flaherty, but Carter Hawkins played with him at Vanderbilt. I'm like, oh, good, that's a spy.
I'm glad Carter enters the chat at just the right times.
Yes, it's like, oh, good, Craig, you let Carter hire a spy for the dugout. Congratulations, nice job. And I have nothing to base it on whether he actually does any of that. He just looks creepy.
I love some groundless speculation.
Yep.
But
that's the best
maybe there's some.
That was the original name of this podcast, was Groundless Speculation instead of Pointless Exercise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll. I think we'll get a fairly entertaining World Series. I think the Dodgers, for all of they seem to be steamrolling through the National League. You could easily see one of these two American League teams giving them a nice fight and having a chance to beat them. So
I kind of want it to be the Mariners, just because they've never been, and it seems like the Blue Jays have never been because it's been since 1993. But I got a chance to see the Mariners and the Blue Jays. They both came through Kansas City late in the regular season, so I got a chance to cover their games for a couple days, and really good, fun clubhouses, or not annoying anyway, with a good cross section of people, like the personality. The Mariners, you go to Julio Rodriguez and he's fun, and Cal Raleigh is very dry, but there's a certain, I don't know, workman-like quality to dealing with him. So, and Dan Wilson's from Barrington, so you can't not dislike him.
His mustache has got to go, though.
I thought he just hadn't shaved when he was in town. Not apparently that's what he's been working on.
It's a weak mustache. Don't do it. Do you think during the 15-inning game, if they had snuck Cal's giant younger brother in to catch a couple innings to rest it, then they could have put Cal back in and nobody would have noticed?
That's the issue. That
too tall.
He's just so, you can tell that it's him because he's way taller than anybody.
Yeah.
So there's no disguising it. I mean, maybe they would have tried otherwise, but yeah, the genetics are unbalanced there.
That's too bad.
So
Oh, I do have one more thing, one quick thing. I feel like this is proof of how good, how prestigious the left field Gold Glove is. Do you know who the 3 finalists for left field Gold Glove are? One of them, of course, is Ian Happ, but the other 2. If I gave you, well, let's see, there's how many other? There's 14 other teams in the National League. I think if I gave you 20 guesses, you wouldn't come up with either of these guys.
I did
Oh,
see,
so you do
but
know
do
that.
I remember? No, I'm not going to remember quickly enough. So go ahead.
One of them is Tommy Pham.
Hulk. I did hear that, but I
The
didn't.
other
It went over.
is, I think, maybe the worst defensive outfielder in the National League. It's Kyle Stowers.
Oh wow.
He is a terrible outfielder. Like one of those guys who it's like, man, they should really find a way to DH him because he can really hit, but he is a terrible outfielder, especially in that big outfield in Miami. And he's the other finalist. The 3 of them combined, -6 outs above average. None of them were above average this year. And one of
I
them
don't
is
know.
going to win the
I
Gold
don't
Glove.
know how these guys are. They get nominated.
No.
I know the voting is like they use stats. Saber has a component. There's an additional. If you look at Fielding Bible, that's where I look a lot. If you look at Statcast, other places too with defense. Saber has its own, and I have not seen the latest results. But if you go to the SABR website, they should have an update on their defensive thing. But then when it comes to voting, that number is used as a component, but it's also like it's voting by managers and coaches.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how we get to nominated people. I don't know. That I'm not sure.
It was crazy to me. I just assumed. Now, part of the problem with left field is there's so few teams that have full-time left fielders. In fact, Pham is not. So they only could find 2, Stowers and Happ. That's a problem. There's a lot of left fielders play fewer than 100 games, which doesn't mean you can't win the award because we know from Rafael Palmeiro you hardly have to play any to win a Gold Glove. But I assumed that like when the one redeeming factor I thought of Isaac Collins playing this year was, okay, he's a legitimately good defensive outfielder. They can finally give somebody else the Gold Glove. He was a +4. He was actually outs above average and did not become a finalist. So, and I also thought maybe Brandon Nimmo, who's a good outfielder, was a good center fielder, but can't really run anymore. I thought, okay, maybe Nimmo will win it, but no, Happ's going to win his 4th in a row. And honestly, of the 3 nominees, he probably is the best of those 3, but there's got to be better ones.
Tyler Soderstream, he was a catcher not long ago and then moved to first base and then left field, and he's one of them. So, and he had, this is at Fielding Bible, Soderstrom at 10 total runs saved. Your guy Ian Happ 9. Now, here's the thing. You know how the Orioles used to have Colton Cowser and Kyle Stowers? I used to get them mixed up. Well, Colton Cowser, and it's only 360 innings, but he had 7 total runs saved.
There you go.
Kyle Stowers had 2
runs
in
saved.
541 innings.
Yeah. Outs above average, he was -3. Stowers was.
And that's another thing, too. Where depending on where you look for defensive metrics, you'll find different answers. That's fun. Are people getting Colton Cowser confused with Kyle Stowers?
It could be.
So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Cubs had finalists all over. Matt Boyd, a pitcher, Carson Kelly, a catcher. Michael Busch probably deserved to be one at first. He wasn't. Nico should probably win at second base. Matt Shaw is a finalist at third. Although Brian Hayes should win. That's the one thing he's really, really good at. Do you think
here's something funny that people should realize about these stats? Okay, so Akil Baddoo, who I don't believe finished the season in the majors, he had 32 innings in left field. 32. He's credited with four total runs saved.
That's good outfield in there.
This is even better, maybe. Blaze Alexander. There's a bunch of Blazes around, and he's one of them. 7 innings in left field. 2 runs saved. That must have been an amazing 7 innings. So when you see these stats, and this is Fielding Bibles, when you see these stats for a season, even a partial season, take them with a grain of salt.
I don't even know how run save works. I have a general idea of how outs above average works. if a run save, if you rob a grand slam, do you get 4? Is that how Akil Baddoo did it? Did he jump up and pull a home run back with the bases loaded and 2 outs? And they said,
I
all
think
right.
you're being funny, and I want to say, of course not,
No,
but I don't know.
I don't think, I think it plays into it. I think robbing homers
Situation.
actually counts on your defensive run save because you literally
Yeah.
saved runs. Now, I don't know how it
Well,
works. I don't know if, say, there's nobody out and you pull back what should have been a grand slam, if they actually give you 4 because those runs can score other ways in the inning. And maybe they don't give you 4 anyway. Maybe you get 1 for doing that regardless.
right.
I don't know.
Well, remember when Denzel Clark had his
Yeah.
amazing catch against the Angels? Well, and people were kind of in a row because MLB Statcast does not account for the height of a wall.
Oh,
It counts for the wall being there, but it doesn't count how high you got to climb it to save the runs. So, and there's a reason for it. It's sort of like, well, you could never climb the Green
yeah.
Monster, so you don't, that's sort of why. I can't really totally explain it, but that's part of it. So they leave it out. So that has something to do too with. It's just that we're still in the infancy, I feel, of figuring out defensive metrics, how to place a value on a certain play, a given play. So just remember that when you see these awards given out.
One of the things the Padre outfielders were really good at this year was they got credited with 8 home run robberies. And when you look at the guy, Tatis is really good at it. Ramon Laureano has been good at it. And Jackson Merrill is, an athletic outfielder. And part of the reason I wanted the Cubs to get the home games against them was I wanted to see one of them rob a homer at Wrigley. The right field wall is 15 feet. I really wanted to see Tatis get up and get one.
Right.
Because I know if they'd have played in San Diego that they would have pulled back like 3 of them. And it would have been like, is Mookie going to win the Gold Glove at shortstop?
I don't know because again, like we said, it's voting and who knows what people have in their heads. But to me, and I've been working on this story for months. Not that it's a really hard story, but I'm just not all that well paid or even that great of a reporter. So I haven't published it yet. But I think other than Raleigh's season, the coolest thing that's happened this year is how he's turned himself into a Gold Glove shortstop.
Yeah.
Or not a, I shouldn't say
Gold Glove caliber, I guess.
One of the best.
He's a finalist.
A Gold Glove finalist. But one of the best. He is one of the best defensive players in the league. Yeah. It's true.
Well, he proved that he made a great play last night.
Yeah. And you saw him kind of clowning with the dugout. I didn't find out if this was why, but he was like, after he made that throw, he was like waving to the dugout and it looked like he was talking to someone specific. I think it was Miguel Rojas. Yeah. Because of the whole thing about playing shortstop is different arm angles for different kind of throws. And he like had the arm angle down right to make that one hop throw long from the hole. So it's like stuff like that takes forever really to work on. That's more than just pure athleticism. It's my favorite thing of the year, pretty much, that he's done this.
I mean, I would think that probably Mason Wynn is probably the best defensive shortstop in the National League.
I would think so.
But
yes.
I would not be shocked if Mookie wins because he's Mookie.
It wouldn't be. I mean, did he have, as far as runs saved and all that? If you want to look at it, sort of like how you look at the Cal Raleigh thing, being a catcher, and then putting all the value in what he does in that, and how many home runs we usually get out of catchers, as we were saying before. When you look at the arc of difficulty, the degree of difficulty that Mookie has gotten himself to this point, I don't know as he's getting older if he's going to have a better chance to win a Gold Glove than this year. Yeah, maybe not. Right. But if you look at the degree of difficulty and how long he's been doing it, if I had a vote, I might vote for him because I might not get another chance to do so. So, and he's been that good that it's not crazy for him to win.
Yep. All right. I really will wrap this up this time. That was false alarm 20 minutes ago when I said we were done. All right. Well, we'll see who makes the World Series, and we'll probably be back after, but who knows?
Well, maybe. I mean, I could come. I mean, we'll talk about it. I mean, I could come back sooner than
All right,
later.
that sounds good.
All right.
Many of us have herpes.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. Got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Thank you.
Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much, Awesome. Andy.